South China Morning Post, 12th of February 2023, a new era in relations between China and debt-trapped Angola, business as usual. When Angolan President Joo Lourenço met with Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang in Luanda last month, he admired several historical projects that China had funded and built, ranging from airports to hydropower plants. As the two nations celebrated 40 years of diplomatic relations, Lourenço stated that China had a vital role in Angola's post-war rehabilitation and economic and social development. According to the statement, Chinese businesses have improved Angola's infrastructure and way of life. The citizens of Angola will pay very exorbitant interest rates. However, the Chinese funding boom was already finished when the tributes were paid. China is beginning to run out of money and is experiencing a severe internal economic crisis. Angola, historically the top recipient of Chinese investment in Africa, did not receive cash from Beijing's mammoth infrastructure initiative, the Belt and Road Initiative, last year. According to analysts, the change results from several variables, including shifts in China and Angola and commodities prices. The Angola model was a technique used by China in 2002, when Angola was emerging from a 27-year civil war, to advance cheap money that the West was hesitant to offer in exchange for oil. According to Boston University Global Development Policy Center data, Chinese lenders had advanced 254 loans totaling $42.6 billion to Angola between 2000 and 2020, accounting for more than a quarter of China's overall financing to African nations. As a result, infrastructure, particularly in housing, roads, and power plants, experienced a boom. 90% of Luanda's exports, primarily oil, are essential to the equation. 70% of Angola's total oil exports go to China, and these sales are directly related to debt repayment. However, China has been purchasing less oil from Africa and more from the Middle East in recent years. As the primary supplier of Chinese oil exports for many years, Angola was closely followed by Saudi Arabia. However, it has since been surpassed by Russia and Iraq. Due to its reliance on oil, Angola is at risk whenever prices decline. This happened in 2014 when prices fell from a high of $115 per barrel to around $50, sending the economy into a recession and a debt crisis from which it has yet to recover. The Export-Import Bank of China and other Chinese policy lenders have also increased their overall caution level as many African nations, like Zambia and Kenya, have experienced financial difficulties. According to Dominik Kapinski, an associate professor at the University of Wrocław in Poland specializing in China's interactions with Africa, low oil prices led to significant economic imbalances in Angola, weakening the kwanza and sending the nation into a recession. Then, he continued, COVID-19, China's escalating isolationism, and financing dried up. Angola used to be one of the vital African partners for the Belt and Road Initiative, notably in fossil fuel-related projects, according to Christophe Ndopel Wang, head of the Green Finance and Development Center at the Fanhai International School of Finance at Fudan University in Shanghai. However, Wang noted that since China's sources of fossil fuels have become more diverse, including the Middle Eastern nations and Russia, Chinese developers seem to transfer their engagements also to other countries. Since taking office in 2017, Lourenço has worked to diversify Angola's economy away from oil and lessen its reliance on China. He has made an effort to attract investors from the West, particularly the United States, which has promised to invest $2 billion in solar energy projects across the nation. According to Tim Zajans, research fellow at the Stellenbosch University Center for International and Comparative Politics in South Africa, China's economic influence in Angola has significantly decreased under the current administration, which has actively worked to diversify Angola's international partnerships. However, according to Zajans, a rise in Chinese investment in Angola is anticipated in the ensuing years, particularly in key industries like energy, transportation, and information technology. He stated that a few weeks ago, the Chinese counterpart and the Angolan government agreed on a loan of $249 million for the country's broadband internet project. A concessional loan framework agreement will see the Export-Import Bank of China supply the cash to finance the Angolan National Broadband Network project. It will pay to update the nation's communications infrastructure and construct a 2,000 kilometers (1,240 miles) terrestrial optical cable in Angola and a submarine line connecting the Cabinda enclave. The money is considered retaliation against the US, which is supporting Evercell, a US business, in a bid to fight with Huawei for control of the nation's 5G technology. According to Kapinski, Gang's visit to Angola in January was to reaffirm China's strategic partnership with that country on the continent. According to him, the renowned marriage of convenience had had a kind of marital burnout in the prior years, so the time was especially crucial. According to Kapinski, Chinese state-owned firms went into standby mode and fled, and the Chinese community decreased from 350,000 at its peak to about 20,000 to 30,000 people. He claimed that, within this framework of business as unusual, the visit signaled the beginning of a new normal in Sino-Angolan relations, one in which private investors play a more significant role, and Chinese state actors are less intrusive thanks to credit lines and the logic of capitalism rather than state-to-state policy. According to Kapinski, Lourenço had made it clear that the Angola model and the nation's reliance on China were not in its best interests, and rightly so. Decoupling from China was occasionally portrayed as Angola's new strategic direction and a well-planned change in its foreign policy, but there were several variables at work. We must remember that in October 2018, Lourenço returned from his trip to China disheartened because his Chinese buddies didn't want to play along and refused to provide him with the additional funds he had asked for. Therefore, rather than an intricately planned action by Angola, or China, for that matter, there is a combination of elements underlying this new development, including Angolan internal politics, China's policy recalibration, and a variety of external circumstances.